True story. When I was a baby, I ate my first ever Burger King and got horrendous food poisoning so bad that I threw up all over the house. At least more than a baby usually would. And it wasn't until I was 18 that I had my next one. I've since buried the hatchet with Burger King, but my family found my food poisoning to be an absolute scandal. In my family's eyes, killing a baby with rancid meat was a bit scandalous. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about fast food's biggest scandals ever. Everyone knows food chains, they are universal. And since their popularization in the 50s and 60s, this popularity has led them to be rife in infamous scandals. So in this video, we're talking about the most frightening fast food scandals there are to offer. So with all that said, let's tuck in. So getting into the meat of this video, let's talk about a scandal that up until recently was very much misunderstood by the general public. Because in 2015, it was discovered that there was a meat smuggling ring set up in China comprised of 21 different gangs who were making some serious money off selling frozen meat to local fast food chains. And let me tell you right now, the quality of this meat was horrendously off. Some of the pieces were thought to be 40 years old. Christ. When this was discovered, the police did well to, at the very least, try and severely crack down on it, seizing more than 100,000 tons of frozen meat, which for context would equate to roughly what butchers would have if they slaughtered more than 500,000 cattle. Obviously, this meat smuggling ring is huge, but it only added further concern about the quality of meat being served in China. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. There were previous concerns prior to this. And this has been going on for years since, with insider reporting on it back in 2021. So for years now, smugglers have been moving meats. But it's not just meant for the fast food chains. There's also a lot of the meats that are meant to be used in medicine being smuggled, surprisingly, including tiger penises. These are being used for medicine within China. Whether it actually works, whether tiger penises actually have any healing properties, I don't know. I've never chowed down on one, but they are being poached for their knobs, which are being sent and smuggled into China. I never thought I would ever find that out, but here we are. Back on topic, few articles I found on the meat smuggling ring actually declared which chains use these tainted meats, and I have a bit of beef with that, to be honest. But compared to many of these stories, which could have been knowingly prevented by the chains, it's possible that these chains didn't know that their food was being frozen and potentially upwards of 40 years old. But alas, as I said, I don't really know which chains sold this meat because the articles that I read didn't really specify. Although I'm sure that we can all imagine in our minds which ones might have. I'm sure you might have come up with a few ideas already. We might know the usual suspects, that's for sure. I'm not saying who I think it is, but I'm sure you have at least a couple companies in your mind. You know, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's rancid, decrepit, 40-year-old meat that's being smuggled into the country. I'd much prefer locally sourced food picked out by local farmers at its peak of ripeness and delivered to your plate within a week of it coming out of the ground. And that's where HelloFresh come in, because I'm very proud to say they are the sponsor of this video. Here's the deal, guys. There is something at HelloFresh for absolutely everyone. In terms of food, it has plenty of meat, but also vegetarian and pescatarian options galore. If you care about the environment, HelloFresh is the first carbon neutral meal kit company, and almost all of its packaging is recyclable. If you're like me, you're young and you don't know too many recipes, but you still want to stay fit and healthy. Well, HelloFresh actually delivers all of its food with recipes in there, and all of the items are pre-portioned, so you don't have to care about overeating or undereating. On top of that, its food is in season. As its name suggests, it is fresh, it is good quality produce, but perhaps best of all, it's actually really affordable. Even more so today, because if you order a meal kit using the link in the description, you'll get not only 70% off, but also free shipping. That is an amazing deal in my book. Just click the link in the description to try HelloFresh today. And thank you very much to HelloFresh for being the proud sponsor of this video. So let's talk about a story where the company involved actually got kind of shafted, and the result of this left a bad taste in the mouths of many. I'm talking, of course, about the McDonald's pink slime scandal. You see, this pink slime is at the heart of many a conspiracy theory, but since this image was released to the public years and years ago, it's definitely been a scandal on the hands of McDonald's higher-ups, even if it's not exactly a fair one. You see, I think I'm going to go a bit rogue here and actually defend McDonald's, kind of. The idea is that this pink slime is made up of blended and beaten pieces of meat scraps that would otherwise be thrown in the bin. Instead, they're broken apart and there's a chemical called ammonia hydroxide which is applied to kill all the bacteria on it. It's then processed and this is what you're left with. This is apparently what they use to create McNuggets. This image was uploaded to the internet ages ago, and it's been a rumour that has persisted for years upon years now. But according to McDonald's at the very least, that's not how they make their McNuggets. In response to this, McDonald's has actually revealed how their product goes from chicken carcass to nugget. And while it definitely does look like a beige kind of slimy thing, it's not that pink slime. Neither do McDonald's currently use ammonia, but we'll get to that claim in just a minute. We're not done here. Call me a brain-dead numbskull if you want, but I'm actually inclined to believe McDonald's here, for one reason, and one big reason only, and that's because if McDonald's used this pink slime, why are there not more pictures of it on the internet? Look up McDonald's pink slime online right now, I dare you, and you will only see one picture of this supposed slime. McDonald's is global. McNuggets are absolutely everywhere. If they do this all around the world, or hell, even just in North America, do you not think it's strange that there's only ever been a single photograph taken of the pink slime? Do you not think a disgruntled employee would act as a whistleblower? We're going to see a couple whistleblowers later on in the video. I'll tell you right now, there are a lot of them. That claim is, in my opinion, kind of stupid. But one claim that does have some backing is the fact that McDonald's, at one point, did use ammonia in their burgers. But a few years ago, they got called out by Jamie Oliver for it, who gets way more hate than he deserves, by the way. I know I'm spouting out all the really unpopular opinions these days, but his cooking aside, his activism gets a tremendous amount of hate for what it is. He wants people to know what they're eating and eat healthy food. That's really it. And he gets all this hate and backlash for it. I don't get it. I don't understand why. But little rant aside, if you're worried that you've ever eaten food from McDonald's that contains ammonia, you shouldn't. Unless you're an American over the age of 11, in which case you should definitely worry. Because McDonald's meat in the UK and Ireland has always been given by local farmers and ammonia has never been used over here. In the US though, yeah, you guys kind of got screwed over there. Sorry. On to the next story then, because while I don't subscribe to the theory that pink slime photographed in that picture was actually ever used in chicken McNuggets, I do believe that foot lettuce photographed in this picture was actually used at Burger King, because the last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is someone's foot fungus, but as it turns out, that might be what you get. Okay, I've covered Burger King foot lettuce at least once, maybe even twice before on the channel. Which videos? I don't know, but I definitely remember telling the story on here before, and while memed on the internet, at the heart of the story is a horrible tale of a disgruntled employee taking their anger out on unsuspecting members of the public. The photograph of tremendous fame dates back to the 16th of July 2012, when an anonymous 4chan user identifying himself as a Burger King employee posted this picture of himself standing on a box of lettuce in the kitchen, along with the caption, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." Obviously, this image was a bitter pill to swallow by many, but you would expect the food you consume in a restaurant to be of the highest quality and for its integrity to have not been soiled by a rogue employee. Well, at least I hope he was rogue. Which, by the way, what does that mean? What does that mean when Chill said, I hope he was rogue? He was obviously rogue. Like, how could he not be rogue if he's standing in a pit of lettuce? Chills, in the very small chance you're watching this, please tell me in the comments, why did you hope he was rogue? I never understood that. Nonetheless, 4chan did a deep dive into the photograph and solved the mystery, as has been so eloquently described on Chill's Top 15 Mysteries Solved by 4chan video, which if you haven't seen that one before, it might reassure you to know that after just 20 minutes, the Burger King in question was discovered, and the next day, The branch manager claimed to know who the rogue employee was, stating that they were getting fired. So, as Chills famously said, that's another mystery solved by 4chan. I want to do a little speed round for you guys, because I have 4 stories here which are really interesting, definitely enough to be put in this video, but they're not exactly long or anything, so it's going to take just a moment to breeze by all of them. The first of which is the Hardee's Buns advertisement. I have never heard of the fast food joint Hardee's. It's not a British thing at all. I've never been there, I've never tried their food, I've never even heard of them. But I have seen their advertisement for their buns, which caused a bit of outrage a few years ago, because it's slightly sexually suggestive. I don't think I need to be the one to explain it, but obviously buns has a dual meaning. It can refer to burger buns as well as buttocks buns. Apparently Hardee's is quite popular within Pakistan, and many of these ads actually ran there instead of the US. As I said, some people weren't exactly happy that this was the advertisement campaign they went for, but hey ho, sex sells, at least they tried something. If you're looking for something to be easily offended by, look no further than Burger King's International Women's Day advertising campaign. I don't know if this one spread outside the UK because it was shared within the UK on Burger King's Twitter, but back last year in August 2021, a shocking fact was found out, which was that only 20% of cooks in the UK were women. 80% of them were men. And Burger King found this to be a bit of a problem. They wanted to empower young women to think to join the culinary field where they're greatly underrepresented. A good, honest cause, but as you can probably predict, the way they went about it is the reason they're in this video. Women belong in the kitchen. That was the advertisement slogan they used. They're not my words, they're Burger King's. Don't leave a dislike, don't leave a hate comment. Women belong in the kitchen is the advertisement slogan used by Burger King on International Women's Day. Obviously referring to a long-held stereotype that women just need to stay at home, cook and clean, and, live in the kitchen. I don't know if they meant it that way. I suspect they did, but actually no, they definitely did. Was it in poor taste? Be your own judge. But were the intentions there though? Yeah, they were. Most people I've seen think the tweet should have been more informed, have the 20% thing underneath, but alas, it was just a blanket statement. Women belong in the kitchen. People were definitely not happy, so the post was evidently deleted and Burger King had to make an apology. What do you guys think? Was making a bit of fun, was poking a reference at this age-old stereotype that women belong in the kitchen, was that okay? Do the ends justify the means? Obviously the intentions were there, but they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't know, what do you guys think about it? For this next story, we need to join the club. The Krispy Kreme Club, that is. When you put 2 and 2 together, when a guy of my complexion starts talking about the Krispy Kreme Club, it's a recipe for disaster. If you still haven't put things together, because of the way that Krispy Kreme spells its name, when you do a promotion and you add another word onto the end, beginning with K, it's an acronym for KKK, which people for some weird reason didn't like. The story here was that a UK branch of Krispy Kreme in Hull wanted to do a promotion called Krispy Kreme Club Wednesdays during the school holidays. The donut shop would have a bunch of activities for local children to go and participate in. This would never happen though, because KKK Wednesdays is never going to sell. Obviously the clan is American based, but they're well known over here too. It's not like nobody knows about them. Was this just one huge oversight, or was it intentional? I couldn't really say, it's not really known to the public, but the idea of KKK Wednesdays was scrapped, and Krispy Kreme, well, it goes without saying that they had to apologise for their actions. A bit grim for our 4th and final entry of this speed round, Jared from Subway. He is a nonce. Confirmed nonce. What more do I have to say? The guy lost 245 pounds in a year using Subway sandwiches as a main part of his dieting strategy. He then became a spokesperson for the company, and then he wanted to touch kids and got put in prison for 15 years. The end. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it? We're moving on. Let's talk about McDonald's ice cream mold. In July 2017, there was an 18-year-old worker at a McDonald's location in Louisiana who was tasked by his manager to clean out the ice cream machine. Upon being given this task, he took the bottom off of the ice cream machine and captured this picture of a horribly moldy tray, tweeting out the image and captioning it, "This came out of the McDonald's ice cream machine in case y'all were wondering." Over the next few days, he would post other images of the sorry state of the McDonald's he worked in that was really grotty and grim. He was fired for being a whistleblower, which he said on Twitter was all part of his master plan because he had another job lined up. There's two things here though, right? First of all, while very disturbing, to me, this doesn't actually say a lot about McDonald's as a company, it just says a lot about the branch that he works at. McDonald's is global, it has tens of thousands of locations all around the world. Of course there are going to be a few of them that are just horribly unkempt and dirty and grotty and grim and disgusting. The guy that posted this image just so happens to work at one of those locations. When you have over 38,000 locations worldwide, of course there's going to be a few that don't comply to basic health and safety standards. McDonald's does have a reputation for questionable food, but at least compared to its competitors, it doesn't have so much of a reputation about dirty restaurants. This kind of thing isn't seen that often, despite how many McDonald's locations there are worldwide, so credit where credit is due. Secondly though, and perhaps more interesting, I'm going to put a little wager that a lot of people that are watching this video have worked in the fast food industry, whether it be right now or whether it be in the past. And I'm interested to hear, I was a barista for a few years, so I never really had this too much. What are some trade secrets of big fast food chains that not many people know about? Please let me know in the comments, I'd be really interested to read them. What are some things that nobody knows that you, having insider knowledge, would actually know? Let everyone be a little whistleblower in the comments. I would really love to read what you guys have to say. Let's talk about a frightening financial scandal next. And to do that, we need to go back to the year 2017, because it was then that it was found that a Pizza Hut in Australia was grossly underpaying its employees. This story takes place in Newcastle, located just north of Sydney, and occurred after 6 employees at the Pizza Hut in question complained to a Fair Work ombudsman, claiming that they had been underpaid, if paid at all, for much of the work that they did. After an investigation on behalf of these employees, the ombudsman found that 24 workers of that particular restaurant were being underpaid by just under a staggering $20,000 altogether, with the most of these workers being aged between 16 and 20. 4 of them were underpaid over $3,000, and including in this figure was the person that was underpaid the most. They were owed almost $5,000. This wasn't the first time that Pizza Huts in Australia had been under fire for the way they treated their employees, with a spokesperson from the Fair Work Ombudsman stating, "Based on its response so far, I am not confident that Pizza Hut head office is taking our concerns about non-compliance within its network seriously." At the end of the day, if Pizza Hut franchises can't afford to pay its employees, then they shouldn't be in business. If it can afford to pay them, then they should just do it, plain and simple. There's no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. Give me moldy McDonald's ice cream all day over workers' rights that have been violated, because I will gobble that sweet treat up. And yeah, it was not a good look for Australian Pizza Huts. It was almost a year ago to the day when I released the infamous Hoaxes Iceberg Revisited. Shout out to you guys if you can remember that video. And I believe it was in that one where I spoke about the infamous Wendy's chili finger incident. If I remember correctly, I think I did a Chills impression doing like the Burger King foot lettuce thing for Wendy's chili finger, but I digress. Long story short, this was a hoax pulled off by a woman of the name Ana Ayala, who in 2005 went to a Wendy's in San Jose, California, where she ordered a bowl of chili. She dug in when she claims to have seen something that put her off her food, which was a severed finger in her chili. As you would do in that situation, she kicked up a fuss. Maybe someone had been murdered and grounded down, or maybe she had been watching too much South Park, who knows? Either way, the police had to investigate into this, and concluded that the finger's level of cook was not consistent with what it should have been if it was sitting in the chili for hours upon hours. And soon it was found that Ayala had a recently deceased aunt who might be related to the case in some way. Yeah, this one was not fair on Wendy's. They hadn't actually done anything wrong. Ayala was lying. And if you aren't convinced, it should be known that Ayala did indeed have a history in making fraudulent statements against big franchises. So I severely doubt this was a boy who cried wolf. She would be taken to court, where both her and her husband pled guilty to conspiring to file a false claim and attempted grand theft Chilli, with Anna being sentenced to 9 years and her husband, who supplied the finger, being put behind bars for 12 years and 4 months. They were also banned from all Wendy's worldwide forever. Their only mistake was letting Ayala through the doors in the first place, an impossible one to know prior to this entire fiasco. Time for perhaps the grossest story I have today, especially for me, and you'll see why in just a moment. When I wrote the script for this video, I was sat in a coffee shop sipping on a salted caramel milkshake thing and eating a Christmassy sandwich. And that made it really tough to recount the tale of how back in 2017, it was reported by major news outlets that traces of fecal matter were found in ice at coffee chains in the UK. I live in the UK, and I was sat inside one of those restaurants who was name dropped in the report. It was tough. But nonetheless, an undercover BBC watchdog investigation went around the biggest coffee chains here: Starbucks, Costa Coffee, and Cafe Nero's. They collected 10 samples from each, and the results will shock you. They detected fecal matter in 3 of the 10 samples they collected from both Starbucks and Cafe Nero's. And as for Costa, it was even worse. It was present in 7 of the 10 samples collected. From the evidence provided, a theory was extracted, and that was that the fecal matter was likely present down to how the ice in these drinks was being handled. Now here's the thing, there are thousands upon thousands of coffee shops throughout the UK. Like seriously, there are tons of them. I don't know what's happened to the high street, but it's all just coffee shops now. Of these though, only 30 were tested in the investigation. You don't have to be a scientist to know that from such a small sample size, you cannot generalize an entire nation. And years on from the report leaking, I don't think that anyone ever fell ill due to it. At least nobody's illness can be traced down to it. And it also needs to be said that every place you eat in is going to have some level of bacteria, it's just natural. But when it comes to fecal matter present enough to be detected in as many coffees as it was, that's not good. So next time I go to a coffee shop, I'll probably be thinking twice on whether I should get my drink with ice. Alright lads and lasses, that's it, we're out of time. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're closing in on 70,000 subscribers, so it would mean the absolute world to me. Aside from that, please let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, because I'm only 131 videos in, and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.